Welcome to Greater Good Radio Hawaii, where leaders inspire leaders. Greater Good Radio Hawaii is dedicated to social entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Evan Leong, and with me is my co-host, Carrie Leong.
Thank you, Evan. Today's guest is Jeff Watanabe, founding partner of Watanabe Ing and Komeiji. Please welcome to Greater Good Radio, Jeff Watanabe. Welcome to our show, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
So you are a founding partner of Watanabe Ing and Komeiji. Could you tell us a little bit more about your involvement with that company currently?
Sure. When many of us came back from law school back in the late 60s, which for both of you must sound like somewhere around the Civil War, many of us came back as lawyers, and we decided we were going to start careers in the private sector. At that time, there were 5 large firms that were well established in Hawaii. And there were also 5 large companies that ran pretty much the commercial life of the islands. And so when we started our firm, we decided we had to be a little bit different than our competitors. And so a few of us, all young, I think the eldest partner was maybe 27 or 28 when we started our firm. But ignorance is bliss. You know, if you don't know very much about what you're doing, you're much more willing to try it. So we started the firm back in 1970, and it's been going on ever since.
And why didn't you just join a larger firm instead of starting your own company?
Well, it's interesting. I think part of it has to do with something that's happening in Hawaii today, which is a generational change, where people are a little bit more apt to try something different. I think in the 60s, in the late 60s particularly, we had a lot of different things going on. Number one was the economy in Hawaii was changing. The second thing that was happening on a national level was, frankly, Kennedy. John Kennedy gave a whole different view about what young people could do. And so all of us, many of whom had offers to work for the larger firms, decided we didn't need to do that and we could break out on our own.
Was it hard for you guys? Because that means you were the 6th law firm in Hawaii.
Well, we weren't the 6th law firm in Hawaii, but our competitors were the large 5 law firms. There were other law firms in addition to ours, but ours was certainly the youngest. And we headed off really not knowing too much about what we were doing and ended up having to do everything for the first time, probably not unlike what young people go through today in a changing world.
So how did you compete? How did you learn? How did you guys build your business if you were kind of brand new?
Well, we sort of decided that where we needed to be was where they weren't, frankly. In the 1960s, one very important phenomenon that was occurring is prior to the 60s and into the 50s and actually to the turn of the century, the same people who had political power also had economic power. The two were joined. Thanks to the Burns Revolution and the Democratic Party Revolution that occurred in the 50s, by the time we came back in the mid-60s and late 60s, economic and political power were beginning to diverge. And so one thing we decided was, you know, when you're at the law firm and your client has both economic and political power, you just need to be like they are, and that works quite well. We were newcomers, came to the market, looked around in the market, realized that we were at a distinct disadvantage with our competitors, but we also noticed the fact that the political power in Hawaii and the economic power were beginning to split. And so many of us were very active in politics. And that ultimately drove a relationship with the capitalists. Capitalists are pretty simple people. You know, when they want something that they don't have, they go out and buy it. And the practice of law is probably not too different than that.
So after deciding that you wanted to start your business, where did you folks go from there? I mean, straight out of law school, where did you get your funding? And, you know, how soon did it really open and start from the idea?
Well, it starts like anything else, like anything young people do even today. It starts with a lot of very, very hard work. And it also means that, you know, when you're younger, the basic problem you have is not your willingness to work, because you're willing to work a lot harder than the old guys. The difference tends to be that you can't prioritize the size of your problem. So that if you're an experienced person and there are and you see 10 different issues, you can kind of tell, well, issue number 3 is going to be important. That's where I'm going to spend my time working. When you're younger and inexperienced, you don't have that luxury. Well, what you do to make up for that is you attack all 10 issues as if they are the most important issues. So you basically outwork the other party. And that's basically what we did. It came really to some degree, out of ignorance, of not being able to prioritize the size of problems. And so we attacked each one, with 110%. And you keep doing that, and pretty soon people don't want to go to trial with you. They don't want to be on the other side of you because you make them work too hard. And so you develop a reputation really out of that kind of phenomenon.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more on Greater Good Radio.